time is over, let's have our lunch and after that you can go back. He said, but I came here to ask the answers for the 3 questions. You haven't answered me. He said, I have answered all the questions to you. King said, explain. He said, well, you said, what is the right time to do the things? And you came to me, I could have asked you to wait for some time and I could have finished my work. But I didn't do that. And I said, you come over and I'm going to answer your queries. So the right answer is now. He said, then my second question, what is the most important job? He said, the most important job is the one which I was doing at that point in time, and therefore it is always the job which you are doing is the most important one. And he said, who is the most important person? The hermit said, the most important person is you. I didn't make you wait. I didn't separate myself. We sat down together and we started planting it. So I gave full attention to you. You are the most important person. He said, but still it doesn't answer my question. I was simply tilling the land here with you. That wasn't really a very important job. He said, you don't realize that in between there was a boy who came clutching his tummy. He was bleeding. And he came here to murder you. Guards intercepted him. And he had a bit of a scuffle.
If I had asked you to wait, if you were sitting alone, okay, shall I stand here? I'll give you
Answers. So now let's begin with the formal address. We are assembled to really find out what exactly it is to be like a leader. What are the characteristics of a leader? The characteristics are lofty vision, affectionate and tolerant attitude towards your colleagues, judicious nature, and I hope all of you understand Urdu or Hindi for that matter. Anyone who doesn't understand, he can raise his hands. You understand Hindi. Hindi is basically almost like Urdu. This guy doesn't like me. Okay, I think that is better. Is that fine or no? Still here, Allama Iqbal as a poet, and in a very concise manner, the definition of a leader comes from him in an Urdu couplet. And any one of you who wouldn't understand, I'll translate that in English. It simply says that there are 3 qualities that are needed for a leader to be. And in Urdu it says, Nigah buland, Jaan pursoz, सुखन दिल नवाज, यही सिफत है मेरे कारवां के लिए. Caravan, you understand, is basically train of people who are going to some place. When you did not have the roads and you did not have the kind of rail track or other communication system, people used to travel on foot or they used to travel in carts and horses. But for the purposes of safety, they assembled together and the whole train of people used to move. And in that group, which was a very heterogeneous group, there was someone who was supposed to be the leader of that train. It is to define the qualities of the leader who has to take a train along with him which comprises of very heterogeneous mass. Translate that in terms of the business that you are in. We all run construction sites, and a construction site will have all kind of people there. You will have workers, you will have supervisors, you will have your own departmental workers, and you will have subcontractor or labor suppliers workers, you will have engineers, you will have managers, and you will have accounts persons, and every discipline will be represented there. That's like a caravan, and as the project manager, you are supposed to be the leader of that caravan. What all it requires? Let's translate this Urdu couplet into English. Nigah buland is the lofty vision. You should be able to forecast. You should be able to see where you are going. That's the first quality of a leader. Ja pursoz. It means that your heart should be full of empathy for people. You will not be partial to anybody, but at the same time, you will treat them equitably, fairly, and that is what it is to be a leader. Sukhan dil nawaz. Sukhan is way of speech. How you speak, that basically makes you a leader or a non-leader. Now, if you possess these three qualities, then you are basically the leader of the caravan. That is something which is a definition that has been given, and I think all of us agree that these are the basic three qualities that are needed in a natural leader or a leader in making. That is another part. All of us have, we have been possessing some leadership qualities or the other. It may not be 100%, it may be 70 or 80%. This discussion that we are going to have now is basically to remind you of those qualities which have gone latent, and now they will have to be brought onto the surface. Why do we have to be leaders? And leaders not only for the name's sake. We have these politicians who claim that they are the leaders of their men and women. Unfortunately, nobody has a respect, because neither they have a vision, nor they have any empathy, and nor they have something to offer to their people except for the kind of funny promises which are seldom kept, or certain benefits which they give to people for a little time or a short time, and which have very deep repercussions on the way the society works. Very recently you have had these three bills that have been passed, and one of the bills is a very funny bill. I don't know if any one of you have really noticed it. Just to claim the leadership, what has been brought about is that any street vendor can ply his business anywhere for that. Now you can imagine what a fracas will be, the traffic, and what repercussions that will basically be bringing on the quality of life that all of us have. So this is a display of a vision which is narrow, constricted, and that doesn't make the leaders who claim that they are the leaders. I'll basically be talking about some of the leaders. They had been in past. And when you start thinking of the leaders, a couple of names immediately spring. Emperor Akbar. What were the qualities of Emperor which made him a person who is still remembered? Although none of us are his subjects anymore, he is not there, his dynasty is finished and everything is gone. But the person is larger than life and is still alive. Alexander the Great, a young person who died at an age of 31 or 32, had conquered almost the entire known world in a short span of about 14 years. He was responsible for annihilating the most powerful empire of his days, that was the Persian Empire. Persepolis, which used to be one of the most prosperous capitals, that was almost razed to the ground by his people. And in his lifetime, he could establish 32 Alexandrias. They were independent cities that were created after his name. Some of the Alexandrias we know, of course, but then these were full-fledged city domains which were run by the governors that were appointed by Alexander the Great himself, and all within a span of 14 years. I'll just cite a legend that is still known, or rather two legends. You have heard of this proverb of Gordian's knot. In Athens, there was a rope which was knotted and kept there. And the farmer who tied that rope was supposed to have fought the demons, and while he was fighting them, he had actually tied his plow, and when he came back, he started doing his own things, but the knot that was tied could not have been opened. And the story was that anyone who could open that knot will conquer the entire world. Now look at the ambition of this 18-year-old person who goes there, tries to open the knot, and any king, and those days, of course, entire Greece had many city kingdoms. They were all small tribes, and he came from a place called Macedonia, or Macedonia. There are different ways they pronounce it. But he came there, which was a small kingdom. He was the son of a chieftain, and he said that I am going to open this Gordian's knot. And when he couldn't open that, he pulled out his sword and cut it and opened it. Look at the sense of purpose. You could go to any extent to achieve that. The second legend came out when they said that Alexander is a person who has wings, he can fly. He is the only mortal in the universe who could fly, the human. And how it came about. During his expeditions, he was there and fighting out with a kingdom which was surrounded from three sides by sea, and it was sheer cliff, and fourth side was the land side. That was the only approach. And the local king there was very much able to protect himself. Like, they speak about Visakhapatnam being a very protected place. It is surrounded from three sides by hills, and then you have the sea. So it's the most safe and secured place when it comes to the strategic safety. Something like this. And the whole army, battlement was at their wits' end. They didn't know really how to conquer this particular place, and without conquering that, they could not have been able to proceed further. That was hampering the dream of Alexander. So he devised a method, and he said that in the sea we will show that my ships are retreating, and they'll just simply be taking time, and the drum beaters were told to beat the drums, and on the beat of the drums, he had put in about 100 chiselers with chisel and hammer, and started carving out the step in the hill. And as soon as the steps were completed, his armies poured in, and they won the place. And the vanquished never could realize that a human can really approach us and come here. So therefore the legend went out, and it said that Alexander has grown wings, and he can fly, and he can also fly his entire army for that matter. That's how the legend went out. Look at Lord Rama. Not as a demigod, as a leader who could mobilize scores and scores of tribes who were oppressed, who were undertrodden, under the regime of Emperor Ravana, who was considered to be the most powerful, the wisest of the persons. And I do not know if all of you are aware that Ravan was basically a Brahmin and a very knowledgeable person. There were few mistakes he committed, and as you understand, the leaders cannot afford to commit mistakes. If they commit mistake, the outcome is always very, very disastrous. That is the precise reason why when myself and Dr. Kumar sat down together, we said that let us meet the head honchos. They are leaders in their own right, but there are certain corners of the cupboard which are dusted, which needing the dusting, and let's dust them out so that you could emerge as the real leaders. Go to the second slide.